Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, members of the graduating class, distinguished faculty, parents, family, and friends. I've had the pleasure of visiting Saskatoon on a number of occasions in the past. In fact, just last year, I spoke at a beautiful cathedral in Saskatoon to a large number of high school students. While I'm pleased to be able to speak to you in virtual reality today, I would much rather be meeting with you in person, especially on this important occasion. It is indeed a privilege to receive the honorary degree that you are bestowing upon me today. This recognition of my life's passion and purpose is a high point that I will always cherish. Graduates, this is a momentous day. Today marks the conclusion of your graduate and undergraduate studies in health sciences, arts and humanities, and information and media studies. Hours of class time, tutorials, and labs, reading and research, preparing for tests, learning to think critically, completing practicum placements, creating art and writing stories, and for some of you, the successful completion of a master's thesis or a doctoral dissertation. These are all tremendous achievements. Today, we will all honor your hard work as you receive your diploma. It's a time for smiles and applause, photos and celebration. It is also a time for reflection. I'm a Holocaust survivor. In May of 1944, at the age of 15, I was arrested in Hungary along with my entire family and deported to Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. My grandparents, my aunt, my mother, brothers and sister were murdered in the gas chambers immediately upon our arrival, while my uncle, my father, and I were selected by the Nazis for slave labor. My father and uncle were murdered after 2 months of internment, victims of medical experimentation by Nazi doctors. In January 1945, I was marched out of Auschwitz on foot as part of the Death March. I arrived 13 days later in Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria and was eventually liberated from Ebensee concentration camp on May the 6th, 1945, by the 764th Black Panther Tank Battalion, a segregated unit comprised entirely of African American soldiers attached to General Patton's Third Army. As I was preparing to write this speech, I couldn't help but think about my past and all of those who never had the opportunity to pursue their dreams. I thought about the 1.5 million Jewish children who never had the chance to spread their wings because they were deemed as Untermenschen, lives not worth living. I think of Anne Frank. If she had survived, she would be 91 years old today, the same age as me. How many books would she have written if she had not died in Bergen-Belsen? I also think about my own brothers, Eugene and Alfred. If they had survived, they might have attended university, leaving their marks on the world of academia or religious studies. For me, these children represent a lost opportunity and are a reminder of the great privilege of education and the collective responsibility that we all have to educate not only our minds, but also our hearts. Reflecting back on my own experience during the dark days of the Holocaust, I can clearly see how those who acted from their hearts were integral to my survival. I would like to share 3 such examples with you. One day, while my father's unit was working near the warehouses in Birkenau, another prisoner recognized him and she kindly gave him a piece of bacon she had found in a suitcase. At great personal risk, My father smuggled the bacon into Auschwitz I and slipped it into my hand. He told me to eat a little piece each day. I wrapped the bacon in a rag and hid it in a dislodged ceiling tile above my bunk. Each day, I took a small bite, and I could feel the energy flow through my body from its sustenance. This small gift from my father gave me the physical and psychological strength to face the ordeals of the next day. Shortly after my father and uncle were selected for experimentation, while in a labor detail, an SS guard struck me on the back of my head with the butt of his rifle. Gravely injured, I was taken by fellow prisoners to the surgery in Barrack 21 of Auschwitz I. My care was overseen by Chief Surgeon Dr. Tadeusz Rzeszko, a Polish political prisoner. When I was not able to walk after 2 days, the SS removed me to a holding area along with other prisoners who were too sick to work. From there, we would be transported to the gas chambers to be killed. When Dr. Rzeszko saw me with the condemned group, he helped me up off the stretcher and led me into the surgery prep room. He gave me a lab coat and told me I would now work as a cleaner. I will never know what motivated Dr. Rzeszko to risk his own life to save mine, but I will always be grateful that he acted with such humanity in an unimaginably inhumane environment. During the chaos of the death march, I was separated from Dr. Rzeszko. Side by side with other prisoners, I marched 3 days and nights in freezing temperatures and without food. Then we were loaded into open flat cars and had to remain standing for a long journey across occupied Poland and Czechoslovakia. As we passed through Pilsen, I saw a group of people standing on an overhead bridge, throwing chunks of bread into the open cars below. The SS guards yelled at them to stop, but they continued until the soldiers fired their rifles to drive them off. Although I was too far away to receive any of the bread, the actions of those people were as nurturing as food itself. At that moment, I knew there were still people in the world who cared. As you conclude your educational journey, you are embarking on something new and exciting. You now have the great privilege and responsibility to shape the minds of future generations and use your scholarly knowledge for good, both in your local communities and on the global stage. It is also your obligation to act from your hearts. First, to nurture your families, just as my father gave me the piece of bacon. Secondly, to offer a helping hand to those in need in your communities, just as Dr. Rzeszko pulled me off the stretcher. And lastly, to aid strangers, just as the people of Pilsen threw bread into our flat cars. You will end the day today with a diploma that enables you to pursue your dreams. You will be leaders, whether it be in the humanities, healthcare, journalism, communications, libraries, research, the public sector, or the corporate sector. You have the skills and tools necessary to build a fulfilling and meaningful professional career. But most importantly, use those skills to build a better world for future generations. In an age of rising hate crimes, polarization, inequality, and climate crisis, each one of us must be part of the solution to these challenges. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Continue to educate yourselves and continue to learn. Celebrate your successes and learn from your mistakes. Find your passion and work hard on it. Be honest, be humble. Ask questions. Think critically. Confront hatred and injustice. Act with courage and integrity. Listen, truly listen. Be grateful, be kind. I accept this honor today in the names of my siblings, Eugene, Alfred, and Judith. I thank my family, my wife Ivy, my sons Ed and Larry, my granddaughters Amy and Julie, and great-grandchildren for their support and for giving me a life here in Canada. I will leave you with the image of 4 brave young women whose names were Ella Gertner, Rosa Robota, Eustacia Weisblum, and Regina Saffirstein. They were hanged at Auschwitz on January the 6th, 1945, for their act of resistance, helping to destroy one of the gas chambers and crematoriums, thereby saving many lives, whose defiant party words to us were 2 Hebrew words. I have kept these words in my heart and soul to this day, and I wish to share them with you as you embark on the next stage of your journey. In Hebrew, Chazak ve'amatz, meaning be strong and of good courage. I congratulate each of you and your families on your tremendous accomplishments. My best wishes to you in your journeys to come. Thank you.